Geekazine's special coverage of HP Discover 2011 is brought to you by Iolo System Mechanic. Go over and use the code Geekazine for up to 50% off System Mechanic 10. And Wirecast. Produce all your video straight from your computer right to the internet with Wirecast. Go over to geekazine.com and click on the link. Of course, Geekazine is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. Over at techpodcast.com. If it's tech, then it's here. All right, continuing coverage of HP Discover, and yes, I actually have two guests here at one time. I planned it for one and one, but hey, I'm pretty flexible, just like HP is very flexible.
That's right.
Exactly. We got Chris and Greg, and yes, they are twins, Chris and Greg Tinker, and they're part of the services and IT service and support area, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Being an IT person, I know exactly what it's like, especially when I was an IT person on my own in a shop. I have 6 servers, an Exchange server, a Citrix server, the other types of servers. Excuse me. And all of a sudden, I would be working on something, and I realized, hey, I'm either drawing a blank or I'm going beyond my knowledge on something, and I need help. That's where you guys come in, correct?
That's, in a nutshell, that's where our department will come into effect at that level. So when you would call HP 1-800 to help me for whatever the problem is, then it will go through the levels accordingly. And where we sit is at the end of basically that level support.
So why don't you tell us a day in the life on the tech support, how that works? If I was to give you a call, let's say my Exchange server is going down or something like that.
Well, for us individuals here, as we are escalation engineers, complex escalation engineers, the phone call out of the gate doesn't come directly to us. It comes into the technical support services division. And of course, they have multiple levels, level 1, level 2. And of course, they're going to tackle your problem and take a look at it, get the particulars behind it. And as they get the particulars behind your problem, they're going to have to help you and identify essentially the direction we need to go to troubleshoot that problem. And of course, they may hit a roadblock as well. And if they hit a roadblock, then they have their metrics behind when they actually need to go ahead and go to level 2. Of course, the customer, they look at the business needs, the business impact, how long have you been down. If you are business impacted, let's go ahead and elevate that. I need some key words they have: elevate, escalate, and they'll bring it on up the chain. And of course, if they do, if the business demands it, it will get into escalations. And when it gets into escalations, large business impact, that's our organization. And we have essentially the breadth and depth to bring to bear on a technical problem.
Okay. So you're both in the same area or tier of things?
That's correct.
Do you guys have individual specialties?
Well, both of us focus on minor differences inside the kernel level structure of Linux and HPOX. Our expertise is kernel structure I/O logic from basically a down lower, what we know as the low layer protocol. That would be like the SCSI I/O protocol stack, going in from any type of driver for peripheral device access, file system layers on up the stack to cluster lock control sequences, et cetera, et cetera. I won't bore you to death with all that, but we have several publications, and Chris and I write a lot of C code and do a lot of structures like that. What our primary premise is on our team, and Chris and I, and of course all the others on our team, is we are principal debuggers. So when a problem comes to bear, kernel panic, et cetera, it's impacted a huge business. What our job is to mitigate that risk, find the problem. If we can't fix the problem quickly, then deploy a patch or deploy an alternate solution to get the customer back online. Or identify a workaround to the actual issue. So at the end of the day, we got to mitigate the business risk. Our priority number one, get the customer's production, make sure it's no longer impacted in any way. So that's our number one priority.
Okay. And it doesn't matter if we're talking HP, we're talking another third-party vendor.
Right.
You guys get those people involved. You get it working. You get a solution. I'm assuming you got a time limit that you have to get through the solution through.
Well, yeah, we try to get the customer. Yeah, I'll take that. Oh, yeah. With respect to time limit, yes, we do have timetables. And, of course, the timetables are both contractual, legal in nature, but they're also, the high pressure, understanding that customer's business impact. And it's not only impacting the customer's business, it's impacting our reputation, my personal reputation, but it's also impacting the HP reputation. Oh, yeah. So, and that's, it is some stress and it's some pressure, but that's what we get paid to do, and that's what we execute at.
Okay. Yeah, no, when I was in help desk, I pretty much took a little bit of personal pride in what I did. So
And rightly so.
Like that. So let's talk a little bit about the new ways of HP, the changes that are going
Right.
in, and how we're talking about deployment is faster. We're talking about convergence, so you don't have to worry about one system to the other. Everything just kind of flows into the thing, into the same level. My question to you is on the technical aspect of it, the support aspect of it. How does that? First of all, does it help or hurt? I'm assuming it's helping. And second of all, how does it help or hurt?
Okay. Yeah, and I'll take the first part of that and let Chris answer some more of that. To the key point of that question is you need a technical advisor. Most customers are going to require it these days with the virtualization and convergence of infrastructure. The key point here is now instead of having 200 nodes, where all 200 nodes maintains the Exchange, Oracle, et cetera, the impact now is we had 18 different storage arrays back in the day. We had a whole lot of servers, et cetera. Now everything, and I'm going to grossly exaggerate the point, is on one storage array on one server. And if you have a problem on that physical hardware, whatever it may be, it's so complex now that sometimes the IT staff of the local company does not have the technical expertise to debug it and get it back online immediately. And in doing so, it's all virtualized. That hardware component not affected just one server. It's affected the entire enterprise.
To add to that, I mean, we're talking about one server. That server is a virtualized server. So now you have a physical server. If it has an impact, you've just impacted 20, 40, 100 virtual instances. That 100 virtual instances make up, of course, the core of that business. So the actual business impact, we're used to, you would look at technical services as, do I really need technical services? I have my IT contracts here, and of course, you're looking at, like Greg mentioned, 300-400 servers. You have contracts based on that, based on the actual storage. So everything's essentially spread out and diversified, whereas now, things are simpler. You've got one physical server with everything sitting on it. At the end of the day, it is simpler it's simplified for the user aspect, simplified for management because of nice reporting mechanisms, but the actual technology that actually makes it simple is very complex.
So now, the key here is you're reducing the cost of your infrastructure, and that's what companies want to do. And it's in necessity in today's life, it is. But at the same, what we're trying to focus on to the customer is reduce costs there, but be aware you really need a trusted advisor when things go awry today in the virtualized infrastructure. It's going to affect your business at such vast magnitude. When you call that 1-800 number, you definitely need the top-notch technical services to get the server back online in an hour or under a few minutes. We don't have the luxury of going down for 24 hours anymore. No customer can survive that.
Yeah, I know. When I was an independent IT person, only person in the shop, if we went down for a 24-hour period, that was $100,000 right there, and when it came to cost.
Right.
So I totally understand that, and it was great to always have a back line of help, whether it be a third-party company or somebody like HP.
Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly right. It's essentially I try to allocate it, or I compare it to like insurance. At the end of the day, our technical services division, and one of the things we're that warm blanket. You call us. That's what we're entitled to. That's what we're actually tasked with handling of those complex situations.
Okay. How does I got a little frog in my throat? Hold on. Excuse me. How does now that we're putting pods and now the EcoPod into the play here? How does that help or complicate the matters at this point?
It's going to hold true to the same as we've been going over the last 2 years with the virtualization concept. Now with the EcoPods, it's still virtualized. It's a single appliance, if you will. So now customers are buying the appliance, the solution, the entirety of the the configuration. So in most IT shops, for example, if you buy the appliance, they don't know that it's made up of, and I'll use HP terminology here, DL380G5s with could be brocade switches with an MSA, or name your favorite storage array, doesn't matter. Yeah. So does the entire blanket solution. So the knowledge base of the IT staff on hand may or may not have the skill set to debug it quickly. The pod solution makes life easier for the customer, makes it a little more difficult for the customer in the sense that services and support get a little bit more complicated.
IT support staff.
Yeah, right, IT support staff. And but at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's definitely the way of the future for all clients in virtualization, the ePods, and all that stuff's moving forward. That's where we want to go with it. We're just the same old story. We just want to make sure that customers don't ignore the fact that needing that trusted advisor, whether it be HP or other third-party vendor. By no means am I saying focus on HP only, but you need to make sure you have that 1-800 number because you're definitely going to need it eventually. It's going to happen.
Yeah. You got a whole bunch of different programs.
Yes.
Granted, you're trying to make one piece of software for all those programs, but you still you can only learn so much. Let's just put it that way.
Very true. Very true.
Is there one? I've been asking people if there's one document or book or white paper that the IT support person should be reading up on to get a better idea of what's going on here and so on and so forth.
There is not a single book. I mean, a lot of people will talk about these, articles, white papers, but the fact is the IT landscape is changing daily.
That's right.
It's even for people like my brother and I, in our team, and we're tasked with, our responsibility is very broad in depth and technical depth with respect to these technologies HP sells, and it's at the end of the day, we're tasked with keeping up with all these technologies. So yes, there's not a single book. There's white papers. We create a lot of them, and it's usually our creation of those white papers are usually dependent upon customers' environment models. At the end of the day, when we design these applications, these appliances, these solutions, we have that one train of thought, that one concept. This is how the customer's going to use it. Turns out the customer may or may not use it in that fashion. They may have, their business model might change in 6 months or a year. So they decide, we have all this infrastructure, let's use it in this way. And then all of a sudden, someday, they're making that 1-800 phone call. And then we figure, that's how you used it. So we need to write that white paper on how to use that model.
Exactly.
And very difficult to look 5 years out in the sense that it's basically obsolete. What's customized today is default tomorrow and obsolete 2 years.
Right now we're talking about virtualization and cloud. 5 years from now we could be talking about, I don't know, heaven or something like that.
Right. I'm not sure what the next step is. I hear you.
Yeah, pretty much so. If people want to get a hold of you, do you guys have Twitter handles?
You can Google us, Greg and Chris Tinker. We have our own blog. You'll see it on, I'm not exactly sure what the website is, but
hp.com
/go/tinker, I think it is.
Yes,
yeah.
hp.com/go/tinker.
Go/go/tinker. Okay,
Yep.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Jeff.
much. And, like I said, as an IT person myself, I was able to handle my own, but there were points where I just couldn't get things done, and I needed to get some extra help. And everybody needs help every now and then. That's where these guys come in, and that's what this whole thing is about, technical support.
Right. That's what, the whole technical services branch of HP is. It's not a one-stop shop. We have friends, different departments. It's a team effort.
Exactly. HP Discover, we've got a ton of more interviews coming, so stick around, stay on your couches, stay in front of your computers. We're going to take a small break and go from there, and check it all out over at Geekazine, tpn.tv. This is Jeffrey Powers with Geekazine.com.
Thanks.
Geekazine's special coverage of HP Discover 2011 is brought to you by Iolo System Mechanic. Go over and use the code Geekazine for up to 50% off System Mechanic 10. And Wirecast. Produce all your video straight from your computer right to the internet with Wirecast. Go over to Geekazine.com and click on the link. Of course, Geekazine is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. Over at techpodcast.com. If it's tech, then it's here.